Okay team, so once we've got our connection to our iPad, in this scenario, I'm starting with a completely blank scene so I can show you how to build it from scratch. A lot of the time you'll be operating probably off a recalled scene, which we'll show you how to do later, but this will just take you through being able to label channels and get everything set up from scratch. First of all, for some navigation, you can see here all of my channels 1 through to 16. There's also a button up here that allows you to go just channels 1 to 8, 9 to 16, DCAs, etc., etc. You can jump to things by that. I like to live on all channels and just be able to scroll back and forth. It's quite quick and quite intuitive. That's our inputs. Our outputs are listed down the side. So we've got our main output, which is obviously PA or our front of house output. And whatever we select here, this becomes our master fader for that. So main, we can go through bus 1, often for your fallback or auxiliary 1, aux 2, 3, so on and so forth. We can then start to get into labeling all these things up and make it look a bit more like a show file. So to do that, I just went setup at the top, and I can go to layout up here, which takes me into my scribble strip, as it calls it on an M32, and I can start to label channels. So here I've got my inputs. I can tap input 1 and start to label away. So I'm just going to do a very typical church setup. I'm going to do a cajon and give it a color. And then I can throw in just a typical acoustic, give it a color. I'm going to do keys left, going to do keys right, just so I can show you what it's like to do a stereo channel. Keys right, and we'll throw in a vocal mic as well. Vox 1 blue. Done. Okay, so as you can see, once I've labeled them there, starts to label all of my inputs across here. It's important, if you do this up front, it gets you a lot less lost later on when you're trying to navigate around. So I always suggest labeling first. I can also label my outputs. So main, I could label front of house. Bus 1, I could label fallback 1, and then let's just say fallback 2. Okay, so now when I select my main and bus 1 and bus 2, comes up here on the top of the channel and says what that's actually doing, just so you can just keep track, especially keeping track of your fallback. So that's labeling channels. Then now let's just say, for example, I flicked on my iPad and this is all here, but that's got nothing to do with what I want. There's another simple trick that I can do. I can go to setup, go general, and then hit initialize mixer. If I press that and then hit OK, it will actually wipe everything off the existing show file and give me back to blank where I was when I started, which can be really helpful when you first start out. If the console's not set up the way that you like it, it's a lot faster than going through bit by bit and then changing things. It won't change your all of the routing will come back by its default routing, which we can see here. If I click on routing up the top, comes through and it just already predefines it as 1-to-1. All your outputs are patched, all your inputs are patched. Everything just comes back ready to use. So very handy. I'll show you that again. It's in setup under general and then initialize mixer. Brings you back to 0. But already now that we've got those inputs, if I start to push faders up now, we're ready to mix. So have a look at our next video about channel processing.